Brian, we have been, you and I have been like this tag team match all week. We've been
Yep.
predicting what's going to happen with Tesla. We've been in the ball game. We've certainly been probably better at it than anybody else.
Mhm.
But I don't think, well, okay, the way I explained it this morning on my show was I did not see the economic strength this early coming. Yeah, I knew there was a lot of economic reports coming out
You're
this
talking
morning.
about the revised GDP?
I'm talking about everything. There was so
Okay.
many good economic reports this morning. It was crazy, but the revised GDP was just one of them.
Yeah.
What do you call it? Initial jobless claims were
Mhm.
like crazy low.
Yeah.
Housing numbers, who knew
Mhm.
housing numbers were even flat
Yeah.
after being up on the new housing the other day? I mean, just one, and then we had a good report in the S&P yesterday.
Mhm.
S&P, what do you call it? Manufacturing numbers. I mean,
Before we get into that, can we quickly tell the people we're going to be talking about Tesla FSD 14, 14.1, 14.2. We
okay,
will get to that. Just to mention to people that that's a big topic of this video. Okay, go
we
ahead.
will definitely talk about that.
Yeah.
But it was like so much good news. It was one of those good to me. It was that good news, bad news thing, right?
Yeah.
So much good news. It was like, oh, whoops, the Fed might change their mind.
Yeah.
And bonds went up 4 basis points initially. It's come back from that, but it went up 4 basis points initially, and the market reacted with, as you would might expect, it went down.
Mhm.
And Tesla, who had really done well
Mhm.
last week when the interest rates came down,
Yeah.
in my opinion, reacted to interest rates going up by going down. So that
Mhm.
that was kind of my take. That was kind of my take. So what were you thinking?
I didn't think the news was good enough where they would change course because they said not only did they cut a quarter point, that they're saying we're pretty much planning to cut another two
Mhm.
quarter point cuts, right?
Right.
So when they say that's the plan, right, then changing from the plan is the news got so different, inflation went so high that we are freaking out and we can't follow the plan, right? So to me, that because they telegraphed this is what we're looking to do,
Mhm.
then it has to be really wacky. Like just getting stronger is, I think, insufficient, right? Because that's just our readings are off around the economy because our numbers are just terrible,
Uh,
right? So that, worse, better, versus actually over the two parts of inflation and jobs,
right.
right? So if those things didn't move a huge amount, then I don't see how it's, you know, we're gonna make three cuts and then wait and see, right? This kind of action after you've done your three cuts, or at
Mhm.
least two of them or something, right? And saying, and now we will pause and wait and see.
So you're on the one hand, you're saying you don't think this will change the Fed's mind about the next two cuts, although it could be, as they say, one data point, because we got lots of data points coming up before the meeting. We're 5 weeks away from the meeting still. But the market could react that way. The market always does this knee-jerk thing.
Right, right, right. But it goes to the um their control is so 30,000 foot level type things. The fact that we're seeing stuff at 5,000 feet or something like that
Mhm.
is different from it's such a big deal that they change whether they raise or lower the interest rates,
So,
right?
in other words, what you would be saying is the market will figure it out, already, in fact, has to a certain extent, because it did come off, everything came off its lows.
Yeah,
And so everything went back the other direction. And that therefore, over the next couple of days, assuming the PCE tomorrow is not some crazy number,
yeah,
we also have the Michigan sentiment survey tomorrow, which for some reason people still pay attention to. I can't figure it out because it's
yeah.
so ridiculous, but it's coming out tomorrow as well. So if they come out neutral-ish, then over the next few days, you're suggesting the market will say, nah, that's okay.
Right, right. It didn't seem it was. more positive, directionally different, but it's like big enough to move the needle. And it's a big needle. It's like kind of like it's like steering a big ship, right? It's got to be like you know the iceberg is ahead, and so we must do something.
And so we also have the business of, we're only 3 weeks away from earnings. So as we begin the earnings season, depending on what the projections, because their projections are, they don't usually start talking about how much they think that the third quarter earnings reports will be up for another week or so. If those predictions are high enough, that could really change things because people say, well, whatever the interest rates are,
Yeah,
we're still making a lot of money here.
yeah. So to me, it's like yes, it's people can make more money, other things like that. But the reason that they were blinking on interest rates was because you know the job numbers were going up significantly. They were worrying about a cascade there.
Right, right.
So the fact that we got a little bit better, does that mean that there's a surge of hiring? Right? That to me is the question because supposedly the reason was inflation's still a problem, but not a huge problem.
Right.
I'm blinking because jobs are get. I'm worried jobs go totally to crap.
Right, right.
Right?
Yeah. So I know you want to get to FSD, but I want to hang around here for a minute.
Sure.
So now all of a sudden, months later, I mean months later, after I started talking about this, months later, we're finally getting administration officials, we're getting people on CNBC talking about the impact of immigration, out migration, negative net migration. We have the first person I've heard ever talk about the impact of the jobs in DC that are not being added. I mean, really, have you seen reports where people say, well, a big part of the reason we're not adding jobs is because the government's not hiring, but today at least one person did.
Yeah.
So, and so these are huge, and I don't understand why nobody's talking about them. The net result seems to me, you let me know if you think this is right. The net result seems to me that we're not hiring. Duh, we're not hiring, but we're also not firing. And so we kind of have kind of this kind of flat situation where, if you really care enough about a job, you get one.
Well, I wouldn't say that. It depends upon. I think it's more that I think of canceling out, right?
Yeah,
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 So I think for certain areas of the economy, it's very hard to get a job, and people are getting losing their job. But then some areas of the economy it can be better. But the fact that you can switch over, from an area that's bad to an area
right,
that's good
right.
is the whole learn to code thing or something like that back in the day. But I think the people who can code are among some of the people who have more problems now, unless you're in this particular Goldilocks zone. So it's like there's good zones and bad zones kind of
Sure.
thing. So
Sure. Having the flexibility to change, having the flexibility to go find something new has always been an issue when you have this kind of massive change. All right. Okay. So I think we're aligned. Okay. So on the other side of the coin, we had this. Now I think the way you said it the other day was FSD 14 will come out,
yeah,
and it will take a month for that to impact the stock price.
right, right,
So we got a, I mean, really solid piece of information from Musk today.
yeah,
And I don't think it impacted the stock price at all, to your point.
right,
So talk me through this FSD 4.0, 4.1, 4.2. What in the heck?
yeah,
Why do we have three of them?
yeah.
Uh, you know,
Right. So Elon Musk announced that in response to Jason Calacanis talking about how wonderful his I think hardware 3 version 13 point whatever was. He was saying that that's really great. And then Elon says, "Oh, by the way, 14 is coming out next week." So that's, as we roll from September to October, it's going to come out. It's going to be early wide release. Right. So basically, that sounds to me like Holmars and a bunch of other people get it, pretty much like probably all those particular influencers. And I need to get on that list. I have, a Harbor 4 vehicle. I think I should count too. Anyway, so so that's what 14, but he said immediately after, 2 weeks after that. So mid-October, you know, October 17th or 18th, we would then get 14.1. And then
Now,
some
was 14.1 like the debugging version?
right. So basically the point releases of like 14.1, 14.2 are we've been testing it for a few months with our employees.
Mhm.
And even before we finish getting it to everyone else, we've already found some things to fix up.
Mhm.
So they are playing with or testing 14, 14.1, 14.2.
I see.
So
Okay.
they have 14. They said after doing some testing, pretty quickly thereafter they realized, hey, we got to polish it up. It's such a big change that we got to do something to fix it up. So that's 14.1.
Got it.
And then sometime, and likely that gap was about 2 weeks where they
Mhm.
figured out they had to do something, right? And create the fix for it. And then 14.2 is the sublime, wonderful thing, which sounds like they figured out how to make it even better. My ballpark guess would be um, uh, 4 to 10 weeks after 14.1, we'll get a 14.2 that is um, everything's cleaned up and tuned up and really, really wonderful, right? So,
Sentient.
right, what?
Sentient.
Sentient, that's right. Sentient, you know, safer, it's um, doing everything in baking for you or whatever, right? So that's that version. So that's going from October, I would say end of November, beginning of December, roughly around that time, we could start getting 14.2, and it probably will be like the 2 3 weeks of release time where it goes to employees, it goes to
Mhm. Mhm.
the early influencers, it goes to everyone. It could 14.2 could go up faster. I don't know. But anyway, so I'm thinking about 2 weeks roughly to release all of 14, everyone to
Mhm.
get it, and
Mhm.
then 14.1, and then by the end mid November, everyone would have 14.1. Everyone have 14.1 for about 2 weeks or a month, and then we get 14.2, right? But it's known fixes of like we need to polish it up. Thus, we have 3 releases because they've
All
already been
right.
testing it.
So 14.2, according to Elon, will be the one that starts to reduce the nag. It didn't say eliminate the nag. It didn't say go to unsupervised. He just said reduce the nag, implying from what I've been reading, and maybe it was Elon that said it, I can't remember now, that the unsupervised that none of these are the unsupervised version, that we
Mhm.
would need yet another version in order to get to unsupervised.
Yeah. So again, it's probably it's getting each one's getting closer and closer, and then decisions will be made on the fly or whatever, and they're leaning to the no change thing, you know. Yeah. But if 14.2 is so sublime, we would have to be really, really close, you think.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So maybe there's no switch on 14.2. And so because they wouldn't want you to be able to, I don't know. But so
My guess is that they um 14.2 is really, really good. It does all these wonderful things, but they still want to see it used by everyone. The testing of
mm,
only a few hundred employees
hmm.
is insufficient for them
Right.
to conclude, and then we can do whatever.
Right.
It's just like it looked great, but testing to the number, the nines, is
Yes.
like we're clearly better than 99.9 or whatever, right? Or, get to
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
level.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in terms of like, um, we want to see it do its stuff. And so 14.2 could be the one, but it would need to my other points about taking time to figure it out. It
Hmm.
would take a month, 2 months, maybe even 3 months to see, yeah, it's not doing crazy stuff, right? The testing is showing it's all good, right? So thus we have the confidence to say, okay, now we pull the driver, now we do whatever, right?
So how do you see the market responding to instead of just a single, okay, 14 is out and it'll we'll get rid of the neg over time, instead of that, which might have taken a month for the market to really react. Now you got 14.0, 14.1, 14.2. The 14.2 is where the nag goes away. Is the market ever going to react to this FSD 14 at all?
I think it can react. It just what changes because of what we actually see,
Okay, so
right?
it'll be up to the YouTube videos. It'll be where,
I think it takes more than the YouTube videos because we had super positive, almost completely positive videos for 12 and 13,
yeah,
right? There was the occasional thing that was bad on it. And there was wonderful videos from China when they got 12. They're driving all kinds of crazy stuff there.
right.
But it didn't mean anything. The customers could love it, but if there was because it's great,
Hmm.
then it's getting a bunch of signups for it. So the
Hmm.
numbers get really good. Because it's great, it gets to every country. Because it's great, we do 12 pilots, in the dozen cities that we could get into, and we get it to like 15 states. I think the market and the analysts react to it's everywhere, and we have 10,000 cars, right?
Yeah.
Versus, um, you know, like for us in the drivers, okay, we have 3 million cars or something in the United States out of
Hmm.
8 million total cars.
Hmm.
And these all have version 14. And because of that, the take rate goes from 15%, because they said it went double digit up from single digit,
Right,
right?
right.
It goes from 15 to 30%, right?
Hmm.
But then that would take time and someone would have to announce it, and they have to do some
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
trials. Things would have to happen,
Yeah, that's kind
right?
of my point. That's kind of my point. So maybe there would be the potential for at the earnings call and also at the stockholders meeting, in each of those cases, there will be an opportunity to give us some KPIs.
Right.
So the KPIs might be nine, the fourth nine. The KPIs might be, hey, if we're still on version 14.1, it might be, wow, this is really going well, and 14.2 is coming in 2 weeks, so they might be giving that kind of a thing. The nag is going to be reduced to 5 seconds. I mean, some KPIs, some kind of
Right.
something that we can get our teeth into.
Right.
So we might have to wait a while before this is really going to have impact.
Right. And it needs to change the perception of the normal buyer. It needs to change the
Yeah,
perception. Like, I love the car more because of this.
yeah.
I love FSD more because of this. I'm going to use it more, that kind of thing.
Or that I'm telling my neighbor, I'm going to my neighbor and showing it.
Right, right, right. That those things start changing. In terms of the clear signal to the market would be, and then I remove the safety monitor and the safety driver, and nothing terrible happens.
Yeah.
Right? So removing them would be a positive signal, and then nothing terrible happening for a month would be another signal, right? So, and then going from the larger zones, but like getting to going from 200 cars to 5,000, right? So some step
Right,
changes
right.
in that are easily measurable, very clear. This is a financial thing. Yeah. So those kind of things have to happen.
Okay, all right. So what else did we have today? There was some other big deal. Let's see. So okay, so you're in my analysis. Let's go back to the analysis again.
Mhm.
We were in this wedge. We
Yeah.
came out of the wedge, according to Randy, speaking for you this morning.
Mhm.
I said, well, Brian said, and I agreed with Brian, that if it broke out, when it broke out yesterday, that this could be a false breakout. But I said, this is not a false break. This was not evidence of a false breakout. This was evidence of news that had impact. And so the fact that it broke back down didn't ruin the technical analysis. But maybe I was completely wrong. What do you say?
Basically, if it goes back, if it's in a wedge in a
Yeah,
structure,
yeah.
and then it pop back into the structure after only a day,
Mhm.
right? That just means that other thing didn't count.
It doesn't
As
count. Okay.
doesn't count, right? Um, kind of count, doesn't really
I
count. It's still a
understand.
bit of
I
information,
get it.
but
Yeah.
you're back in that other zone, and
Okay.
then you're waiting to move out, right?
Right.
Not up, not down. Again, you're back to waiting.
Yeah. Okay. And I noticed that we closed out, I think we closed out right at 23, did
I think it's about 23. Yeah.
Yeah, 420. So that's that number again,
Yeah.
423. So that's been a very common, although there's so many spots now, it's hard to pick which one is which. You got
Right.
430, 435, 423. We
Yeah.
have all kinds of spots. So
Right.
uh,
And then the other thing is that, the more it's hanging around in here, the more that it can generate new levels and trends and structures and all that kind of
okay.
stuff.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I put up a poll, and the people in the poll all thought that if the number of cars produced, number of cars shipped came in over 470, and the amount of energy deployed came in over 13, that we would go to 460.
Sounds about right.
Sounds about right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Although, yeah, I think with in terms of the exact number,
Yeah, I'm
it
just
would, what does the consensus do, over the next little bit, to move up or down? Also, if the stock moves up more, it's it's kind of like raising the bar a little bit about like what you want to see in order to be really happy. Yeah.
now the pundits, the headlines all said, every single headline was the Tesla stock is down because the European numbers were so horrible.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I was like, no, known fact,
Yeah.
nothing different than
Yeah.
the European numbers were as expected. They
And,
weren't.
and if anything, the last couple of weeks they got a little bit better, I think.
Yeah, right. So
Yeah.
yeah, we're
And they were cherry picking that, like they're reporting only half the numbers, like one set of countries down, another set up kind of
right.
thing. So it was yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't think that that was very important in terms of no. Okay, all right. Let's see. What else was there? Anything else with regard to the Tesla stock picture today, or the Tesla news that we haven't talked about? Wait
Yeah.
a minute. I did make a note.
Mhm.
Let me just look really quickly
Sure.
at my note.
Yeah.
See here. Da, 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 da.
I think
Uh,
there's been
oh,
more news reports about the
oh yeah,
fact that, it's in Arizona, those sightings and
right.
that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
stuff that we were talking about yesterday. I think that um, mainstream media, like local news Arizona or something like that, would be talking about the fact that, hey, it looks like Tesla's coming, that kind of thing.
I knew there was one other thing.
Yeah.
The other thing was a confirmation of the bromance being back on,
Uh,
and the first ever ask.
okay.
Okay, so Elon announced, or the president announced that, or somebody announced that XAI is now in basically
All
the
government, yeah.
the AI source resource for the entire federal system. They're charging 42 cents for every single department. Each department has to pay an additional 42 cents in order to get it. So what
Yeah.
did you think about all that?
Um, I'm surprised, that they would charge anything because I thought that they said that if you charge anything, then it, kicked it into some kind of
Procurement?
procurement thing, right? So it was kind of like it was better to offer for free if the official one, in order for other companies and stuff
To
to
bid.
align and do stuff,
Yeah.
then you end up having a more favorable position. So especially something so nominal as 42 cents, then that seems, I guess maybe it's the whole de minimis thing, too small to count, and so it still counts as nothing. Yeah, so
Yeah,
that
I
was
do. I do believe it works both ways. There is, and again, I'm kind of talking from memory here. I do believe that if it's over a certain amount, it has to go through procurement,
yeah,
and if it's free, then it falls into another category,
yeah,
and the free category is another problem.
yeah,
So I think that's why, but I could be wrong. But what do you think about just the idea that
is being used.
that XAI has this opportunity now, and additionally, this is proof that if there ever was a real feud, the feud is over.
Right, right. It's another positive indicator for the relationship, and it's also positive in terms of getting more data. The fact that you're, getting the government questions and the usage and knowing what that is, that's the main advantage more than, a nominal amount of money. Yeah.
but also proof cases. They'll get a lot of proof cases,
Right.
huge numbers of proof, and they're going to unleash their engineers to go in there and help them to
Mhm.
do the on the ground stuff.
Right.
So they, when you're out selling something, I
Yeah.
wouldn't know anything about selling.
Yeah.
When you're out selling, you want to have as many proof cases. In this case, in this kind of a situation, well, yeah, here's what we did for defense. Here's what we did for whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. For Social Security, for Medicaid, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All right. The other thing, though, I thought was that Elon has said many times. In fact, the president said one time, Elon never asks me for anything. And that was kind of one of the deals. And, but this time, Elon has said, don't cancel the emissions requirements.
Hmm.
So
Right.
this is the first ask.
Right. Right.
And of course, I'm agreeing with him, by the way. I don't care at all about global warming. We talked about this the other day, but I care about pollution
Right.
a lot.
Yeah.
And so the emissions requirements has nothing to do with global warming, Mr. President.
Yeah.
It really had to do with pollutants.
Right.
And so why not continue along with that emissions requirement? And besides, it wasn't costing the federal government a dime.
Right. And,
Um,
and also, if you already have the rule in
right,
that you must follow this emission requirement,
right.
then the company is already used to doing it.
And they're already negotiated it.
Right. We're going to negotiate. So it's done.
Right,
So not changing it is um, easier for the companies.
right,
Like it would be, um, it would take them, a year or 5 years
right.
to like change the cars because you were planning to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, if you thought that California or someone else could say, fine, the federal lifts the emission requirements, but we don't,
Mm.
especially California.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
see California, someone coming in
of
and say,
course.
hey,
Of course.
you still have to follow it. So then nothing changes
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I'm not going to go changing and making my cars more pollutant
Right,
over in Texas just because I'm allowed to
right.
when whatever. And then driving across states and stuff like that. So um, I think unless you were making that change long term decade, it wouldn't help whoever you wanted to help anyhow.
Yeah, yeah, okay. So anyway, he's asking for that to be changed, and so it'll be interesting to see whether the president does go along. If he goes along with it, I don't think the stock will move, but it should,
Yeah,
because obviously the second ask would be, look, Mr. President, we really need help at NISTA.
right.
Yes, they gave us a feather. They gave us a little bit of a palliative the other day that looks like they're going the right direction. But the way that it sounds right now, it could be years before the stupid government does what it needs to do. We really need this to be pushed along.
Yeah, yeah. So again, these regulations are many things are very slow moving.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. I knew there was one more. That's
Mhm.
why I kept like, come on, Brian, what was that other thing that was
Yeah,
happening up there?
right, right.
Okay, let's find out what happened with the numbers, or
Yeah,
what's happening with the numbers actually. So Tesla was down 4.38. It did finish at 423.39. And in the after hours, it's up. You see there, it's already up. Well, okay. It's 423 and 97 cents instead of 39 cents. So that's a big increase. So where do we go now? We flat? Well, no, tomorrow morning, who knows? It doesn't
right,
even matter what happens overnight. Once
right,
it, when the PCE coming out tomorrow,
right,
I mean, it could go up 50 or down 12. I mean, it's
right. Yeah, but
okay,
barring really, really great news, we're saying it's likely staying in the
the
420 to
range,
440 level.
right,
But if to your point, if the news is really, really bad, since we're toward the bottom of the
right,
channel,
right,
we could fall down to 400. But again, um, how long we stay out of the channel when next Wednesday or whatever we get the volume number. So
right.
basically, whatever is happening with Tesla up, down, it's how far can we move before that major news drops? And why would you move so much in anticipation before that happens?
Yeah, and if core inflation, if headline and core for some reason, people pay more attention to headline, even though they know Powell pays more attention to core. But if headline comes in a point or two lower than expected, or core comes in a point or two lower than expected, then we're probably back up to 444, right?
Yes, yes, I
I
think
think
so.
so. That's because I think it was all about. I think it was all about the interest rates today.
Yeah,
That's just me.
yeah.
Okay. Let's see what else. We got to go to the bonds, see what the bonds are now doing in the after hours. Here we go. So again, the bonds are going to probably just hang out now. Yeah, 417.6. This is impossible. It can't be 2.6 higher than I said was the highest it
Mhm.
could go, but it is. But again, the bonds will probably, probably if it's a beat on the PCE tomorrow, I could imagine it being back down to chasing a three handle.
Mhm.
If
Yeah,
there, if it's a significantly lower, like 1 or 2 points lower,
yeah,
we could definitely be looking at a three handle.
yeah.
Oil up a little bit, 65.26, actually up a little bit. That's over the last few days, it's kind of been going up. Don't know any reason for that offhand.
Mhm.
Maybe saber rattling. So, okay, this is a good one for you. Um, the president said Ukraine can win now,
Yeah,
and Ukraine went, we can,
yeah,
and Russia went, no way.
yeah.
I mean, what's your take on that? I mean, I don't know how closely you've been watching it recently.
I view that as him jawboning the negotiation points.
Okay,
So before it's like, oh, I'm jawboning, hey, I'm gonna be nice to you, Putin, and blah blah blah. Here the signal is that um, I've got it set up where I can last as long as you want. I'm ready to go. These guys can win. But the main thing is I have it set up where I'm going to keep selling them the weapons they want. The Europeans are paying for it, and then the Ukrainians are ready to fight. So our side, we're all good, barring some facts on the ground. But he's not putting the caveat in there.
right.
Basically, that this setup is something that he can let run for through the end of his administration, right?
Okay.
Only if Ukraine can't do anything does it happen. So basically, in terms of the Ukraine has all the weapon support that they need because we're giving it to them, but we're selling it to them. Europeans are paying for it, and then they're getting it, right? So he's signaling to Putin, as long as you want to go, keep doing this thing. We're gonna keep going. That's basically the signal as I see it.
Okay, now let's look at it a completely different way
Mm.
because I've been hearing a few things. So Eric Schmidt was on All In
On
podcast,
the summit, yeah.
All In Summit. Eric Schmidt said, and Eric Schmidt apparently has done a huge amount of work for the Defense Department and apparently knows more than any of us about defense right now, based on what he was talking about. Does it seem like next level? Did it seem like that way to you?
Many times that he's been talking for the last year or two. He's in the inner circle, inner workings of all this stuff on AI defense and everything. He's plugged in.
Right. So what I heard was that drones are going to end ground wars.
Hmm.
And the reason for that, if I understood it right, and you heard it, so maybe you can tell me where I got it wrong, because I could have easily gotten it wrong. What I heard was drones are AI equipped drones will be infinitely programmable on the fly. And therefore, if you've got a million drones and I got a million drones and I got them facing off against each other, I have no way to know how to strategize because your drones are infinitely programmable. My drones are infinitely programmable. I'm at a stalemate, much like the nuclear stalemate. I can't, I, I can't really pursue your drone, your air drones. I'm sure is mostly what he's talking about. I can't really pursue those air drones because I don't know what your latest programming is.
So yes, it's drone assets versus drone assets being a primary determination of and the smartness of your drone assets, the capabilities thereof, which is software based, um, is a how things match up. So for people who do not have not studied, military history, dynamics, all that kind of stuff. One of the reasons we came up with GDP was because World War II became an industrial war. And really World War One happened too. But like really World War One, World War Two was clearly industrial wars. It's
Right.
like my production capability of tanks, planes, etc., is the determinant of who wins,
Right.
right? So then the full mobilization is taking my economy from commercial production to military production, going up to like 30, 40% military production or something like that of the whole economy, which is measured by GDP,
Right.
right? So we're measuring the economy by GDP is because we created something to say when we mobilize, who wins,
Yeah.
right? So that is to get that answer, right? And in terms of World War II, around 1943 was when Michigan and I think the original Henry Ford, still alive, created um, Henry Ford mass production, not just of cars, but of four-engine bombers, right? And that's something that, the spies from Germany looked at that and said, holy crap, they're going to make, 600 to 700 400 bombers a month, and then we can't do that for a whole year or something, right?
Yeah.
And we don't even have 400 bombers, we only have
Yeah.
like 200 bombers, whatever, right? And then, Hitler and Goering and stuff like that said, I don't believe you because we're biased and whatever until like a year later or 6 months later when the plane is flying over and pummeling their
Right.
cities,
Right.
right? That and also the number of tanks, 40,000 tanks versus
All
4,000.
right.
Anyway, so
Right.
basically that was clear production victory win, right?
Right.
So now we have all this equipment and the in the Ukrainian war, it's a lot more the drones are becoming dominant, determining who wins the battlefield and all that
Right.
kind of stuff, right?
Right.
So the transition to new hardware is happening.
Hmm.
Right? And it's because drones can be 10 times, 100 times more effective per dollar,
Per dollar. Yeah.
right? Even 1,000 times per dollar in some cases, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
ballpark, at least 10 and then usually 100.
Yeah.
So then that means I can get 100 times more stuff
Yeah.
against your thing.
Yeah.
And I can also take out your old hardware, which was the World War II thing at the beginning, realizing battleships are meaningless. World War One, battleships are everything. World
Everything.
War II, at the very beginning, they thought battleships mattered, and they quickly realized, no, no, it's aircraft carriers, right? So here we're realizing, fighter jets, bombers, all that kind of stuff, artillery, kind of still matters. We're transitioning to the point where it's all the drones, right?
Right.
It's going to take some time, five,
Right.
10 years, something,
Right.
right? But the transition is clearly happening, right? So, and it's already being proven in Ukrainian war, in the Israeli war against Iran, where
Right.
they shipped in some containers and trucks
Right.
and things with drones, popped them out, and they just, I think in Israel and also in Iran and also in Russia, where they stuck stuff in and then blew up ships
Yeah.
and planes
Right.
and other gear, right? So but you can penetrate in by being sneaky, but then you can also just create a system where you can just do it, right? So basically, the whole um, economic force model of my GDP versus your GDP, but then here, if I have more percentage drones and more capable drones, I get a 100x multiplier, right? So then before my economy is 10 times bigger than yours, but then one economy is fully transitioned over to better drones, but presumably everyone's paying attention this time,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
then everyone goes to the 100x. So it's a race to get to 100x, and then you're still back to my GDP versus your GDP.
Well, except in this particular case, my GDP versus your GDP doesn't matter as much because the drones are $1,000 a piece or something instead of tanks at $100,000 a piece. So,
No, 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 because you're going to still spend $100 billion, $1 trillion on your drones. You can still go max spending.
but what I'm
So
saying, I don't think there would hardly be a decent country in the world that wouldn't be able to produce a million drones, let's say, in order to be able to compete with somebody else's million drones. I mean, there's like,
I don't think the transition happens as evenly as that because it's a question of are my drones being made by um, aggressive startup Anduril or by Tesla?
Yeah.
that can make
Yeah.
10 times many drones or faster drones
Yeah.
versus a old line Boeing company that may be only making 100
So
drones.
now, but now we are talking technology, not necessarily GDP. That's kind of
Right, right, right. Yeah, yeah. There is the execution of
right,
it will
right,
matter. It's just like, you know, making a Panzer versus whatever tanks back in World War II, right?
right,
There was a difference in execution quality, all that kind of stuff, right?
right.
So there's the theory, did my strategy right, and then am I doing things correctly?
So he mentioned he put a special emphasis on underwater drones. And what I thought of immediately was Taiwan again, but what I also thought of was underwater drones that also can fly,
Hmm.
just not that hard.
Right.
So it would seem like you could have underwater drones that approach land, come out of the water. Now they can fly. This would be very scary.
Yeah. So I've covered that, and there are these wing and ground effect drones, which basically they take off from water like a seaplane, and they only go a little bit like 2 meters above the water,
Okay.
based on the size of it, and then you can go 200 miles per hour and carry a large bomb load. It's kind of like in between a ship and a plane, right? And lets you carry um, far more weapon capacity than a regular plane, but less than a ship that was
Yeah.
on whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm 10 times faster than the ship, right? So you're getting the kind of hybrid things. And then there is these more advanced version of speedboats. Like, a lot of the low tech countries like Iran have had speedboat type
Mm. Yes.
militaries. Like my Navy is 100 speedboats,
Right.
right?
Right.
But the the fact that I have computer controlled Gatling guns that fire 1,000 bullets means I don't care about your speedboats because I can still blow them all up,
Yes.
right? So then you have to overwhelm the defenses of that. So 100 speedboat type things is not enough. You need to have 10,000,
Awesome.
100,000, something, right?
Yeah.
So there's an arms race, a new arms race going on there, new capabilities that have to be developed. Just saying I have a variation on a speedboat with drone operation, computer AI operation is the details matter. Does when I do whatever, does it overwhelm the existing defenses and whoever the defenses are? Because the U.S. is the main one with computer controlled gun technology to shoot down missiles, mortars, and
I
all that
see.
kind of stuff. They've
Yeah.
had that. It's called the Aegis system. They've had it for a while. Um, Ukraine has come up with some cheap versions of that where you're controlling a 50 millimeter machine gun, that kind of thing. So an arms race is happening on that. The details changing day to day.
Do you imagine? I know who knows? I don't even know when we started, so we might go long. Oh well, if you like it, you'll listen. You'll stay as long as it's interesting. Um, do you imagine that given SpaceX and given US technology and given AI, and given that we know that there's been multiple SpaceX launches that included military satellites, do you imagine that we either already do or we will shortly have uh, such overwhelming capability to see the ground and to manage the ground from space that it will be over anyway?
Yes, I think that not just the imaging of the ground, but that the U.S. advantage in space via SpaceX and via satellites um, will be a trump card thing that means that the U.S. win that has military dominance for many, many decades, right? Because the Starship and mass production of satellites is such an overwhelming advantage for the United States that China, other guys are not catching up. It's basically like transitioning from biplanes to 747s, right? That the other guy's stuff is so much smaller, so much weaker that it irrelevant, right? Also, the production of, you know, SpaceX is going to put up 45, 50,000 2-ton satellites, right?
Right.
Those are the version 3 satellites starting end of next year and then going, mostly launched in 27, 28, right? So that volume of satellites, you know, 2 tons times, 50,000, 100,000 tons, right? 100,000 tons of satellite, which is, each one, 2 tons the size of a car, right? A large car, right? So versus everyone else with 100, if you have a lot, smaller 100 kilogram satellites, or even smaller than that, 10 kilogram satellites. Let's say 100 kilograms, right?
Mhm.
100 times that, 10,000 tons, right? So let's see, 100 times zero point 0.1, actually be 10 tons. 10 tons of satellites versus 100,000 tons. So you're gonna get 10,000 times difference, right? To the point of, and then also like, oh, I'm gonna blow something up or something like that. It's like I can launch 1,000 of these cars back up there, right? In like a month, right? So it's the advantage is this 1,000 to 1 level, right? And then samely, in terms of like communications, in terms of imaging, again, it's like the volume and capability is just not comparable
Would you?
until China and them get a fully reusable Starship, make 1,000 of them or 10,000, and get into the game, which would be like, catching up to the U.S. having all the 747s in the world,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
everyone else doesn't, right? But it's no one
Yeah.
has a reusable thing, so it's not even like
Not
they
even in the
like,
ballgame. Yeah, they're not even in the game. They haven't even shown up yet.
right.
So would it shock you if someday, 10 years from now, we find out that all of those new larger satellites, or maybe even the satellites that are up now, all are already equipped with military, uh, they're pretty big.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. So no, they don't need to. One, they would have military uses. The military can use them
no, I'm
for.
saying that they might have one camera or a little or some camera with a electronic whatever in the satellite already, because how much extra weight would that be?
Yeah,
How
yeah,
much
yeah.
space does it take?
Yeah, yeah. So they could have little gadgets and add-ons for that, but they have a program called Star Shield. They already have almost 200 of those satellites up. So
Oh,
the
okay,
the smaller satellites, the Starlinks, they have like 9,000, the smaller ones.
right.
And then they have almost 200 of the Star Shield satellites. And so they have contracts to put up more Star Shield satellites, right?
I Yeah.
So they're going to order and buy 10 billion, $100 million of those, and then you will have your separate version. So there's no need to hide it. It's like I'm up there, you can't get me. I'm just gonna tell you, yeah, I got a bunch of Star Shield satellites. You know what they are, but I got like, now I got 10,000 of them, and they're the big ones,
Yeah.
right? It's just like it's also like for us normal people, they don't say, that Hubble Space Telescope, we have 30 keyhole spy satellites turned around aimed at the Earth that are basically the same technology as Hubble, right? And we've had those for decades, right?
Yeah. Right.
They didn't tell us that.
Yeah.
Only people who are paying attention might know, hey, keyhole, that's the same technology as this or that or that. But for the Russians knew, the Chinese knew. It's not like they didn't know that they were having keyhole satellites up there, right? And they knew what the technology. They just weren't bothering to tell us about the deal, right? So bottom line is they will have thousands of them. Whether they bother to tell us what that was, oh, secret mission. It's like the Russian and Chinese spies, you know, what are they doing? Nothing on their hands. They know what it is.
So is the Golden Dome potentially only now possible because we have Star Shield?
It makes it far more easier to do it.
Yeah.
There were other ways, other technologies where you could have had something pretty effective. But the fact that you have Iron Dome in Israel working for a long time
Right.
means, yes, all that and the capabilities here means that it's easy to put together and easy to get a lot of capability, right?
Okay.
Um, I had looked at other things for defense that would exist even before SpaceX, but
Mhm.
that would require people to be a lot more clever,
Mhm.
and they didn't bother to do that.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Wow. Very interesting. Well, I didn't know that this is where we were going to go, but I
Yeah.
did know that all of this has been on my head since I heard Eric Schmidt. Now, I will say one last thing about Eric Schmidt. did you think he felt a little too gleeful about having had the battlefield to play with his toys over there in the Ukraine-Russian war? I mean, he was kind of like, well, we've had this kind of in place, but it seemed like he's not.
I think, misplaced confidence or cockiness, it's just, how things come across, it, yeah. So I don't think it was nothing intentional.
Yeah, well, we do know that the big boys, have to test their toys. And if and listen, I hate war. I hate I uh, have no military history. I don't own a gun, but the reality is you do have to test your equipment,
Yeah.
and you have to
And
test it for real.
and because of the Ukraine war and because of the Israel-Iran war, all the weapon systems got tested.
Yes,
Yeah. So
true.
it's not necessarily gleeful, it's just a statement of fact.
Right. It
Yeah.
just it just seemed like he had kind of a quirky look on his face while he was talking about it. That was
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. Right.
All right, Brian, listen, that was fun. I really enjoyed it. Maybe everybody else did too. Let
Yeah.
us know in the comments below.
Okay.
It's, and to all of you, thank you. And to all of you, it's been great talking to you.
Thanks.